As you know, the bully consists of a number of northwesterly trending structures, and one of those has now sprung up to be an artisan working on our side of the boundary. The guys are pretty busy there. I think there's at least 15 to 20 active shafts, and the guys are getting down to 10, 15, 20 meters already.
I'm joined now by David Scott. He's the CEO of Tembo Gold Corp, trading on the TSX Venture under the symbol TEM, and in the United States under the symbol TBGPF. David, welcome back.
Thank you, James. Good to be chatting to you again in this new year.
Yes, you bet. And in this new year, David, it's you recently put out some news that you've made a new discovery in Tanzania. Can you tell us about that, please?
Yeah. Basically, what's happened is that an artisanal working has started up on the northwestern extent of the bully structures. As you know, the bully consists of a number of northwesterly trending structures, and one of those has now sprung up to be an artisanal working on our side of the boundary. The guys are pretty busy there. I think there's at least 15 to 20 active shafts, and the guys are getting down to 10, 15, 20 meters already.
Well, that's fantastic. And so what kind of, so is this a continuation of the structure then that is on the Barrick property next door, or is it something new altogether?
I'm almost certain that it'll be a structure that does exist on the bully side. Obviously, it hasn't been mined by them because we're 3 kilometers away from their shaft. But, you know, there's a number of structures that make up the bully zone, all northwest trending, Reef 2, Reef 1, and Reef 0. And I'm sure there must be others as well. And this is one of those, and it's mineralized on our side of the boundary. And it basically sits almost in the middle in that cluster of structures.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so what is the sort of plan to expand upon that discovery at this point? What can we expect in terms of drilling and further exploration?
Yeah, so we've obviously got to prioritize what's most important in our work program. As you know, we've been drilling to define the structure around our known targets where we've had good results. And that remains a priority now to start developing a resource on those. This one, Mwasabuka, definitely has to be drilled at some stage and sooner rather than later. Particularly because it's on the bully trend, it's obviously got a little bit of excitement about it, and I think we need to put 2 or 3 holes in there just to test it out.
Mm-hmm. And so what is happening generally in terms of the expanded exploration program on all of the Tembo ground, as well as how is that meshing with what's going on in the Barrick ground next door?
So we're waiting now for the second quarterly report to come from Barrick. They are busy on the ground. I believe if they haven't started drilling already, they will be starting fairly shortly and doing some ground geophysics. The recent announcements that they've made and presentations that they've given, they've interpreted structures that come through off the bully trend up into our ground, and they've swung them north and up into the ground that they purchased from us. So obviously they're still targeting the bully trend as such, as well as looking at other targets on their ground. I'm hoping to get their quarterly report shortly, and we'll hear more about what they're up to.
Sure. So then is the expectation on Barrick's part that they are going to start drilling the land that they acquired from Tembo?
Yeah, I think they must, and obviously they will. Aside from the obligation that they have contractually, you know, the ground is great ground, and I'm pretty sure by now they've started to define some good targets. So I'd expect drilling to be underway fairly shortly.
Sure. And how much has Barrick invested in their development program for 2023, or how much have they earmarked for that? Do you know?
I don't have a number. I do know that their total commitment to us for the 4 years is the $9 million. And it goes up in a sliding scale, which is pretty normal. You know, your early reconnaissance work doesn't cost a lot. And then you build up. And once you start drilling, of course, you burn through cash fairly quickly.
Sure. So in that context, inflation has driven the costs of everything up everywhere in the world. Has the cost of drilling in Tanzania increased?
No, so far, the quotes that we received when we did our tendering for the phase of drilling we're in at the moment, the pricing hadn't yet been affected by the current rise in prices of other things. I expect they when we do tender again, they will have gone up, but I'm not aware of that yet.
And tell me, in terms of the infrastructure for developing a full-on producing mine, is that power, roads, water, etc., available to where you are in Tanzania?
Yeah, there's been a great improvement over the years. When we ran in the power line to Bulyanhulu, it was an 85-kilometer line which came in from the east. It was the first power into the area. Now there's major power lines running across the country, distributing through minor, smaller power lines to the villages. And we now have a power line running right past our camp. And there's a big power line running right across Ngula 1, in fact. And so when the time comes, there'll be power available. The main road, which comes down from Gator, where Gator Gold Mine is located, that road still needs to be had a hard surface put on it. It's still an old dirt road, and it's about time because it's a major arterial road between some major regions, and elsewhere in the country, those have all been tiled already. So I think fairly soon we'll see that one being made into a tar road. But the roads are good. They're well maintained. And from Mwanza, which is the nearest international airport and sort of the hub of this area, from there to Gator is all tar. And interestingly, there's a bridge being built across Lake Victoria. I may have mentioned that before, and that'll shorten the road trip from Mwanza to site as well.
Mm-hmm. Has Tembo's success in the region caused an uptick in interest by other companies coming to Tanzania looking for gold and silver?
Still, I believe we're still the only foreign company exploring in the Lake Victoria goldfield. I believe there may be one or two small ones in the Lupa goldfield. I think there's a Russian group that are busy down there. I think it's just a matter of time, and we'll see companies coming back into Lake Victoria, which is about time. There used to be, in the mid and late 90s, there used to be up to 15 small juniors active in the goldfield, and it's still very quiet.
So then, is it the case that the barriers to entry for new companies to acquire ground in Tanzania and get permitted, is that part of the reason there's such a dearth of exploration?
When the legislation changed, obviously the prospects of investing in Tanzania plummeted quite severely, very rapidly, as they do. Bad news has a very rapid effect. To build back confidence for the investors, for the juniors to come back, takes a bit of time, and I think it'll come, but it will take time.
Sure. And is Tembo planning to exhibit at all at the PDAC convention in Toronto this upcoming spring?
Yep, we'll be there. We're going to be quite busy actually the next 2 months. We'll be at the African Mining Indaba in Cape Town, at the parallel investor meetings function, which is 1-to-1. So we'll be there at 1-to-1 meeting investors. We have 2 days almost full of half-hourly meetings with people, potential investors. So that'll be good, and we'll probably pop into Indaba on one of the days just to see what's happening down there. And then we'll be at PDAC. We will have a booth at PDAC, and expect to see Mark, Simon, and I there manning the booth and talking to anybody who's wanting to hear the story.
Yeah, great. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you then. We're going to leave it there for now, David. We'll come back to you in due course. Thanks very much for your time today.
Thanks, James. Stay well. Enjoy 23.
I will. You too.